Right, Adnan Virk, it is great to go ahead and see you again. The last time we talked, I think I was asking you about Jackson Merrill's chances for Rookie of the Year. He is a finalist right now. What do you think, and what do you think the voters are going to think come next week?
Well, it's been amazing, Marty, his journey this season. And I think it was neck and neck for much of the season. Early on, it felt like Skeens was the prohibitive favorite, whether it was the betting line or just word of mouth. Obviously, he burst on the scene like a supernova and was amazing. But I think Merrill overtook him. I think in August and early September, everyone's looked at Skeens' innings, and he wasn't, a major impact as far as the pennant race is concerned. Pittsburgh had fallen off considerably. And Merrill was a guy who played virtually every day for San Diego, a key position defensively, hit a ton of home runs, especially late in games, as you know, was so critical for San Diego. But I have to be honest, I think the last 2 weeks it shifted again. I remember working with Albert Pujols and Harold Reynolds on MLB Tonight, and at that point was like early to mid-September, they were saying Merrill's the guy. And then it flipped to Skeens again because Paul was great those last few starts for Pittsburgh. And if you look at his numbers overall, it's still pretty eye-popping, a sub-2 ERA. So I hate to say it. I'm pulling for Jackson Merrill. He's a great kid. I got a chance to interview him. But I think it's going to be Paul Skeens who wins Rookie of the Year.
How do you put into perspective how remarkable his rookie season was? 20 years old, moving from shortstop, his natural position, to the outfield, playing every single day, Silver Slugger Award winner, just at the age of 21 years old. How remarkable was his rookie season?
Yeah, honestly, it's amazing. All the things that you mentioned, especially when you're playing out of position like that's insane. I mean, to go from infield to outfield, and I think, he made it clearly he missed playing shortstop or missed playing in the infield, but he was willing to do whatever it took for the team. So I'm with you. I think every aspect of it. I just think his power was impressive. Like I said, especially in late games, he was a clutch player. You look at San Diego's season overall, and there were so many challenges, I think, within the team. The fact that Machado was up and down, Tatis was out for an extended period of time. Bogarts was out. Like the fact that Jackson Merrill and Jurickson Profar were like the key linchpins of that offense. Profar finally makes the All-Star team after 10 seasons of inconsistency and a wayward career. And Merrill, a 20-year-old rookie, who ends up being this real jolt for them. And I give A.J. Preller and San Diego credit, honestly, Marty, the fact that they'll say, we don't have this guy start the minors. If he's ready, we'll go ahead and start him. So I give A.J. credit, Mike Shildt credit. Obviously, he's, a great manager as well for giving him the confidence to have that player in there. And listen, the future's bright for Jackson Merrill. If there could be co-rookies of the year, which rarely happens, it'd be nice to see. So future's bright. There's no question about it.
Maybe one day baseball will have a rookie of the year, a pitcher of the year, just kind of separate the categories, because I don't know,
Yeah.
you can't compare, a pitcher that once every 5 days versus a guy that plays every single day. Real quickly, and then because you mentioned Mike Shildt last week when he had his extension for his press conference, he mentioned that he was miffed that AJ Preller did not win Executive of the Year, shed a ton of payroll. He made some key trades, Luis Ariz, of course, Dylan Cease, and Jurickson Profar. What a bargain that guy was. When for manager of the year, Pat Murphy will get some votes. Of course, they had a lot of injuries. They win the Central despite their manager going to the Cubs. Where do you see from Mike Shildt for his place as possible manager of the year?
Yeah, I think Pat Murphy might have the edge because, as you said, the Brewers, they weren't expected to do anything. And that, as you know, the manager of the year is never the manager of the best team. It's a team that expects to do nothing and ends up being successful. So nobody really had the Brewers winning that division. Most of them thought they were going to regress significantly. I think most probably the Cubs, the Cardinals. So I think Pat wins by virtue of the fact the Brewers have never had a manager of the year, which is amazing to think about. With Caswell and all his success, $40 million he gets in the Cubs, that never won manager of the year. I think it's Pat, but I think you could make a case for Mike Shildt. He did a fantastic job. I was looking at the numbers for San Diego, as you well know. Specifically, they were so good with runners in scoring position. And a year ago, they were dreadful in that category. So clearly, Mike had a big impact there. They also had the fewest strikeouts in baseball. So in a sport which is so boom or bust and rewards so many home runs, whatever Mike Shildt, the hitting coaches, and whatever their offensive philosophy was, they were able to get the players to understand the importance of runners in scoring position and not striking out too much, which is shocking in today's game if you're able to add those principles. So, specifically to Mike, if you look at his numbers, offensively, he had a drastic improvement on the team. I think it's funny about A.J. Preller. Everyone thought a year ago or 2 years ago that was their window, right? With Juan Soto, they could do it. To be able to flip Juan Soto for Michael King, I thought was a fantastic trade. King's an absolute stud. What he did in that first game for the Padres, that two-seamer, the way it was moving was amazing. So, I think AJ is definitely regarded as one of the top executives of the game, and Mike certainly made a good point. And Mike should definitely get some manager of the year votes. He's a classy guy. He's an upfront guy. He's very, stand-up guy. I remember for years when he won manager of the year with St. Louis, I was so happy because he's the rare manager that didn't play at like a major level, right? He was just a guy who's always been in baseball as a longtime coach, and it gives hope to a lot of people that you can be successful even if you haven't had a big career. So I think he makes a fair point. Both Mike and AJ did an awesome job.
And then it seems remarkable that just a year ago, we were talking about the fact that could the Padres blow out AJ Preller as well? And we go in the offseason thing, they have to trade Juan Soto. Of course, it's a year ago today that they lost Peter Seidler, who was such an impactful owner for the San Diego Padres, impactful owner in baseball. But I don't know, it's crazy that we went from AJ Preller playing, just in it for his job, huge offseason, to executive of the year, and the future is so bright. And they have Jackson Merrill, and could they be players for Roki Sasaki? You mentioned Juan Soto, and he's going to be the biggest free agent of this class. Who's favored to land him?
Well, I think it's the Yankees, but I'll be honest, Marty, it's not the same era of the Yankees before as we know. In the past, where George Steinbrenner would say he's not going to be outbid. So I believe that they have a threshold, and I believe they have a number in hand. And I think that number is going to be 12 or 14 years for $600 million. But Steve Cohen is not the type to get outbid. And I think there's definitely a real aspect to, I'm going to steal this guy across town and make him a part of the Mets. So if Soto's camp and Scott Boras blinks at all and they say, we want to go the highest bidder, then I do believe that Steve Cohen and the Mets have that chance, because he'll go 610, 620, 625, whatever it is. And if you want to stay in New York and go to a different team over $25 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but you're already getting 600, then that's Juan Soto's prerogative. The one that I find fascinating is my hometown team in the Toronto Blue Jays, because Bob Nightingale of USA Today reported the Jays apparently have an offer of 14 years and $643 million. So that's more than what we've expected to believe so far that the Mets and the Yankees have offered. The Jays very famously, Marty, a year ago, were in the Ohtani sweepstakes. They thought they had him. There was a plane coming to Toronto. There was a big controversy. And it ended up being just the guy from Shark Tank was on that plane. And the Jays ended up pivoting and getting Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Justin Turner, which, with all respect, it's quite the come down. So it's the final year for Vlad and Bo. The Jays had a terrible, disappointing season. It would be a hell of a move at this go. All right, we're just putting all of our chips towards one, so we'll give them $650 million, and let's see what happens and try to win a World Series. And if we don't, well, we're going to have to lose Vlad or Bo, or whatever it is, because I can't imagine they could afford two of those guys, much less three of those guys. So I'm intrigued by Toronto. They're a much more big market than people realize. They are Canada's team. Rogers, I think they can. And I think the stain of last year hurts. The fact that we're willing to give Ohtani $700 million, weren't able to get him, and they weren't able to pivot. So I hope Toronto makes a big splash. But honestly, it feels like the Yankees. But I don't feel super confident about if I was a Yankees fan, because I think that ultimately, and by the way, nothing was more telling than Juan Soto after the playoffs, in which he was remarkable, of course. I mean, that home run that helped lift the Yankees to the World Series will always be remembered. But Marty, literally minutes after the World Series, he's being asked, and rather than saying, hey, I want to focus on this season, be proud of my teammates, I love being a Yankee, it was immediately, we're open for business, like, call Scott, we'll figure it out. I'm like, oh my God, like, wow, like he's about as ruthless as it gets as far as players and being a business person. So as I'm saying this, I feel like now it's not going to be the Yankees, because they might just get outbid, which is part of life.
You just talked yourself out of that pick. Adnan, I don't know if Canada can recover if they finish second again for a major player falling short of Ohtani, thinking they had him, the party was ready to go, and then losing Soto. But I also think that Soto, being on the East Coast is important for him. Being close to his family is important to him, and he loves the Dominican population, which they have in the Bronx, and that was a big deal. So I'd be shocked if he didn't finish with either New York team. Last thing, Adnan, because there's no one that Darren and I used to love having you on to talk about the movies. What is there a big blockbuster for this winter season?
Well, it's interesting. Gladiator 2 is getting a lot of buzz, which will be in theaters in about a week or so. So there's good rave reviews for Ridley Scott's film. They're saying it's really well done. I'm normally not crazy about sequels, but again, I'm hearing great things as far as the movie is concerned. And, I think when you look at some of the other projects, certainly there's some movies in the more independent circuit, like Conclave is supposed to be quite good. I just saw Heretic with Hugh Grant playing a villain, which was actually excellent. A Real Pain with Kieran Culkin from Succession's a really good film I just saw. So there's definitely lots of, obviously these awards circuit type movies coming out. But yeah, as far as blockbusters, Gladiator 2, I think is going to clean up. It's getting rave reviews.
You're the man, and I'll tell you this. You're the one that recommended me to go ahead and watch Inventing Anna. And so anytime that I watched her appear in Dancing with the Stars, I thought of you, Adnan Virk.
Oh, that's so funny, buddy. Listen, anytime anyone takes my word, I appreciate it, because I'm sure that I've made some bad recommendations along the way, and people say, God, I can't believe I listen to that guy. So if there's one that clicks once in a while, I'll take it. I appreciate it.
Never. Thanks so much, Adnan. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining me in on the early hot stove here.
Of course, buddy. Anytime. Good to see you again.